Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have a fun new project for you. So I have these printables. These are from Kelly Bangs. They are in the Illustrated Faith Print and Pray shop. And this is a new series called Knowledge Notes. And what they are these cards that you can cut out. The first set is called Books of the Bible. And so what Kelly has done, she's given us a rundown of kind of the books of the Bible. And then we have each book of the Bible. They're listed in order. It tells you the main idea of the book, the author of the book, and then gives you a place to choose your own verse from that book that speaks to you. And you have all of them. They're color coded at the top. Law, history, poetry, major prophets, minor prophets, gospels, history, Paul's letters to churches, Paul's letters to friends, and general letters. And so I'm super excited. Word on the street is there are going to be some possible more releases of knowledge notes that kind of bring us through some different topics, some different things going on in the Bible. So what I want to do is create something for my knowledge notes to go into. And that's where this little beauty comes in. So I picked this up from Target. This is from the Dollar Tree at Target, and I thought it was super cute. And when I printed these at 95%, instead of 100%, 95%, scaled it down ever so slightly, they will fit perfectly in here, like in this little grouping. And I thought, how adorable will that be to kind of be able to have all the knowledge notes together in here and organized. And I know it's a little truck and it was probably meant for a little boy's room, but you know that I'm going to change it up for sure. So that's the plan. I'm going to work on this a little bit today and get my knowledge notes container all set up. I will cut all of these out, get them all put in there, and head on over to the Print and Pray shop, check out these knowledge notes, see what they are all about. And I'm going to put you guys on fast forward. I will link things down below. I'm not sure if you can link things from the dollar spot, but like I said, this is from the dollar spot from Target. Check it out. All right, let's go. All right, so one of my favorite places to check out and get ideas is the Target dollar spot. I think they have just lots of fun little things that you can add your very own crafty or creative touch to. And that's what I was thinking when I went. So I went looking specifically for something that I could hold these knowledge notes in. And I had several different options. And really, this little truck just works the best. So it's my little knowledge notes bus, and I'm going to add a rainbow because I love rainbows and it'll go so well in my craft room. It'll look really nice sitting out on my desk, and it will have tons of room to hold a lot of the different knowledge notes as Kelly Bangs releases more throughout the year. One thing I love about all of Kelly's releases is that they tend to go together really well. She has a palette that she loves, and while there's some variations on that for the different seasons, I know that these particular colors that were in my stash are going to go really nicely for most of these knowledge notes. So these are just acrylic paints that I had, like I said, in my stash. They're old acrylic paints from Target. They have a new line now, but that's really similar and has a lot of the same colors. So I'm going to go with this pink and the orange, yellow, and then that bright teal, just as kind of a variation on the rainbow color. I did not have to prep this truck in any way. I didn't sand it or anything like that. It will take several coats, so I think it's almost 3 coats just because I wanted to make sure it was a nice, thick, bold color. You could have used paint pens. You could have done anything like that on here and that would have worked just fine. I just liked the broad strokes of this acrylic paint. So I'll do it there. I'm going to add the second coat now, just to make sure it's nice and bold. I'd love to hear where are some of your favorite places to go check for some crafty inspiration that maybe aren't necessarily craft stores. So the Target dollar spot always has just some fun supplies that tend to be really basic that you can add to. I think the Dollar Tree or a dollar store is another great place to go just to kind of see some little pieces that can maybe inspire you to create something different. So I'm really excited about this particular bust set just because I think it's going to be super cute sitting out. And then I love this concept of having these note cards. So back in the day when I was in school and studying, note cards were my jam. Like that is totally my study method. I would have stacks and stacks of index cards, those 3x5 index cards, and I would just read them over and over. And something about it being on the smaller card, like limited information on that card, really helped things stick in my brain. And so I love the concept of these knowledge notes because it feels like it harkens back to that same concept of studying and just having these reference cards in a way. Anytime that you can kind of change up how you study and different ways that you study the word is going to be beneficial because you're going to be soaking it in some different ways. Once I get all of the painting done, I do put it aside, let it dry and get set, and I'm going to go through my stash of Kelly Bangs printables, and I'm looking for a girl that I can put in the window of my bus. And so I kind of go on my computer, I'm looking through some of the sets that I remember, and I actually print this. It was a Valentine's set from last year, and I happen to like this girl, and I'm cutting her apart from the guy that she is with because I like that her hand is raised. It kind of looks like it would be on a steering wheel. I just liked the position of how she was, and I love her brown hair. I think it kind of looks like me, so I like the idea of driving the bus. So I'm just going to trim her out, cut her out from the guy she's with, and then I'm going to use her in the window of the bus. All I'm going to do is just put her down on some white paper, and then I'm just going to actually use the back of that printable because that way I don't have to lose any or use any extra paper. So using that white paper, just a little bit of trimming, there was a little bit of teal left between the fingers. I will use some adhesive to put her down, and then I will trim out that paper and position it behind the window of the bus. I think that that is going to be a really cool feature. I'm wanting to add some pens, like a pen holder to this bus because I think that'll be really helpful as I'm wanting to add notes. It's going to be really cool because I'm actually doing one of the plans on the YouVersion Bible app where you can read the Bible in a year. So I do think that these will come in handy as I'm reading and a verse sticks out to me. I can add it to that particular note card, which will work really well. I'm using Fabri-Tac glue just because it'll dry really fast and really strong, and so I'll place that there. And now I'm wanting to label my bus, and I could have done hand lettering on it, but I opted, I'm gonna like go with the Kelly Bangs theme. So this is her alpha set, her alpha stamp set from Illustrated Faith. It is called the Legitest Alpha Ever. I'm not sure if it's in stock or not, and I'm actually using some Stays On ink in gray, and that's basically just giving me the outline of all of these letters. I knew I didn't want it in gray, but I wanted to be able to have the shape of these particular alphas. So what I'm going to do, I had a little struggle trying to figure out which acrylic block I should use, and so I tried, it just didn't fit well between the wheels because the word was going to take up like all of the space. So what I ended up having to do is actually get an individual block. You can see I'm like, oh no, it's not going to fit right there because the wheel was in the way. So I get a really tiny individual block, and I will just do each letter on its own. Once I finish stamping out all of these letters, I do make sure it dries. So the reason I use Stays On ink is because it stamps really well on top of slick surfaces. Because I had already put acrylic paint down, there was already a slickness going on. And now you can see I'm just tracing over the letters with a white Posca paint pen, and that way I can get the white lettering that I was looking for, but still have the letter style from this alpha stamp. So drying in between, and then I will add a second layer of the paint just so it's nice and bright and bold, and you can see how it really jumps out after that second layer. So putting that on, and that'll be the word knowledge. And then I'm going to go back with a black Sharpie, and I'm going to trace around that each letter to make it pop even more. So that'll look really nice. And then I'm going to come through and just handwrite the word notes at the bottom. There are a lot of different ways that you could use these knowledge note printables. I considered making a ring out of a binder ring, just punching holes in the corner. That would be a really great way. You could put them all in a traveler's notebook where you can take notes around them, and you could have a whole series of different traveler's notebooks. I think that would be a stellar way to use them as well. There's just a lot of different variations. So take a little bit to think about it and how you might use them the best. For me, having them out in my craft room, in my work area where I actually do my Bible study in the mornings was going to work best for me. So I thought that's why I went with something that would sit on my desk. Okay, so I'm going to add a little pom-pom trim because why not? And I'm using, again, Fabri-Tac glue works really well. It's going to be really strong and it dries really fast. So I'll hold it there for just a minute and then I'll move around the back and add just some fun trim moments. Again, this is just to add that little extra touch. I love the little extra that pom-poms add, and I love that it's so soft. I think it kind of softens the edges, which is really nice. So I'll put that down the side all the way to right about here and cut it off. And then I wanted, like I said, I wanted to add some way where I could hold pens because I thought that would come in really handy as I was using this to take notes. So I'm using these. These are like old vinyl rolls. So this was holding vinyl for my Cricut. It's a really strong paper towel roll, I guess you would say. And I'm going to use that and I trim it down using a razor right here to the size of the edge of the bust because I don't want it to stick up too far. So I'll actually trim out 2 of them and then wrap them in white paper and stick them on in there with some glue. And they're going to work really well to kind of give me a place that will hold some different elements. And you can see I'm going to have to kind of squish them down. They don't fit perfectly. I need them to be more oval shaped as I get them in there, but because they are pliable, because they're cardboard, this still works pretty well. Just make sure you're really careful with how you cut it. With this straight edge, it was very, very sharp, and you can see I have to I'll squish them in there and kind of make them into more of an oval shape, and that'll work really well. I think covering them with white paper probably wasn't necessary because you don't see much of these rolls coming up, but I just figured it's better safe than sorry. I didn't really want any of that brown kind of showing through from the sides, and eventually it'll be super full of the knowledge notes. Right now it's got a lot of room to grow. There are, 66 different note cards for all of the books of the Bible. So it was a lot of note cards to cut out for sure. And I can't wait to see what other kind of categories that Kelly brings us through as she releases some more sets of this throughout the year. Again, Fabri-Tac glue coming in clutch for this particular project. I love that glue. It just works really well. It's nice and strong. It dries so fast. It's just one of my favorite glues for sure. And I'm just going to add some to the bottom so that it will be nice and secure, and then some on the sides. And it's a little tricky to kind of get it in there without dragging glue everywhere, but the good thing is it does dry clear, so it's not really going to leave any marks. And that is going to be it for this project. I did spend a good amount of time cutting out all of the cards. I won't make you watch me cut out all of them, but pretty easy to cut out. I just needed to make sure I kept them all in the correct order for the books of the Bible, so it was a nice little review. If you like this project, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I will link all of the supplies that I use down below, so be sure to check those out. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon members. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope that you all have a fabulous day. And as always, keep it creative.